Let's look at some interesting cards that deserve to see more play in the Commander format. Shaper's Sanctuary, 1 green enchantment. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It's important to note that Shaper's Sanctuary will draw the card before that spell or ability resolves, so you can use it to counter or interact with the spell or ability that targeted your creature. So if you got a counter spell off your card draw, you could counter spell the Swords to Plowshares or something if you wanted to. I first came across this card at my LGS. I was looking through their binder of cards, and I saw this and I was like, wow, this seems pretty interesting for 1 green mana. It offers kind of a pseudo protection or card draw if someone's repeatedly targeting your stuff with spells or abilities. It's also possible that you play cards that redirect spells and abilities towards your own creatures because you want them to be targeted for some reason. There's a lot of interesting creatures that want to be targeted by your opponents, so this gives you an additional benefit of being able to draw a card while directing stuff towards those creatures. You can also make deals with people, so if they need to target a creature for an ability, it's like, hey, could you target my creature token or something to help you draw cards? So it can be used, as a political tool, like most cards. So this is a 1 mana enchantment that can either protect your creatures or draw you cards. Now, the thing that's going to turn a lot of people off from a card like this is the fact that it's not guaranteed to do either one of those things when you want it to. I still think this is a really interesting card to try in your deck. It's only 1 green mana. Of course, there's an opportunity cost. This is 1 card slot in your deck, but I still think it's a cool card and it's worth trying out. Viashino Heretic, 2 in a red, creature lizard, 1/3. 1 in a red, tap, destroy target artifact. This creature deals damage to that artifact's controller equal to the artifact's mana value. I know what you're thinking. For 5 mana, I'll destroy all artifacts my opponents control by overloading a Vandal Blast. But hear me out, because I think this plays better than it looks. Have you ever left open mana all the way around a turn cycle in case you need to counterspell something or cast your protection spell or a removal spell, and then you didn't need it and you felt like you wasted your mana? A lot of people will tap out and use all their mana because they don't want to end up in that situation, right? But having an activated ability that costs mana has people thinking that like, oh, that's what they're going to do with their mana, but they never know if it's like, are you going to cast that card from your hand or are you going to use this? Which is actually a benefit because it makes people stop and think before they cast their powerful artifacts. Now they have to deal with this creature, otherwise they can't, or they need to make some kind of deal with you depending on what the artifact is that they want to put onto the battlefield. Again, I think this card will play a lot better than it looks and reads, and also doing a little bonus damage based on the mana value of the artifact is also pretty neat too and can really put people in a tight position when life totals start to get lower. Do or Die, 1 in a black, sorcery. Separate all creatures target player controls into 2 piles. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. They can't be regenerated. I absolutely love this card, and I think it's extremely underrated. At only 2 mana, you can take a player and basically cut their board in half if you split their creatures, into even piles. And you kind of force them into a decision, like, do they want to keep their commander? Do they want to keep their utility creatures, their best attacker? It just depends on what you put in what pile. But essentially, if they have a really big board they got out of control with a bunch of tokens or something, cutting that in half is extremely useful. A lot of times you will be digging for a board wipe when there's an archenemy. Everyone's trying to get to the board wipe to slow them down. And I think that this helps deal with that archenemy. And also, if there's no archenemy, it helps deal with the person that you feel is most threatening to you or could get out of control soon, and only for 2 mana. Mirror Strike, 3 in a white, instant. All combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn by target unblocked creature is dealt to its controller instead. There are lots of cards in Magic that can redirect damage, but this one actually has the creature deal the damage back to its owner. Therefore, if it's a commander that's attacking you, they're up to 21 power, you could send that 21 damage back to them, and they would lose to their own commander damage in 1 strike, which is definitely on my commander bucket list, and I hope I could pull it off with Mirror Strike sometime. This card is really cool, and specifically for that interaction with commanders, makes it even more exciting to me. Political Trickery. 2 in a blue, sorcery. Exchange control of target land you control and target land an opponent controls. This effect lasts indefinitely. There are lots of powerful lands in the Commander format that either have really good utility effects or tap for lots of mana, and this is an answer to those by being able to take your opponent's really powerful land for yourself. Like imagine they have Urborg, Cabal Coffers combo, and you swap an island for their Cabal Coffers, and because they have Urborg, now you can use the combo, right? That would just be like probably annoying for them, but just really great. So I think that if you see a lot of powerful lands in your games, this is probably a good answer to those, as well as the fact that giving someone else, like an island, for example, can open up island walk abilities for your creatures or someone else's creatures. Maybe someone's playing a Merfolk deck at the table and there's that one person who doesn't have an island. Now you can be like, okay, here you go, here's an island, so that now you're not taking all the attacks, right? So there's lots of cool little things with giving people certain lands, as well as the fact that you could take their really good lands, and I think this card is underrated. I think there's a lot of great cards in Magic the Gathering that just don't see enough play in Commander simply because they're just not the best in category, right? We want the most efficient removal or flexible removal, the most efficient ramp, the most efficient, card draw. We want to draw the most cards possible. And I think if you fall into one of those main categories, a lot of times you're just going to be looked over. But there's a lot of elements to some of these other cards, such as Viashino Heretic sitting on the field. Just the fact that it's sitting on the field and you have 2 open mana means that I have to think twice before I play a specific artifact down, right? I either need to remove it or make a deal with you. And, that kind of adds like that extra social aspect that makes Commander so much fun. Also, we purposefully don't play the most optimized list as it is. So why not just enjoy the game and play cards that are fun and change up the dynamic of what's going on? Let me know in the comments down below if you found any of these cards interesting. And what cards do you like to play that maybe don't look too good, but every time you play them, they have people, like, wow, that card is really cool. Until next time, thanks for watching.